Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, the founder of the highest paid part-time job in the world, options trading program. And what we're really quickly going to talk about is how you can cash out on one of the hottest trends that's probably going to be going on in 2021, maybe even 2022, maybe even 2023. But let's take it from a 2021 perspective. And we're going to really show you in this video what we're talking about and how you can put yourself in a position to profit or cash out from this particular trend. And what's going to separate you from the majority of people in this market is instead of you getting caught up in what's going on, you getting caught into the euphoria of it, you getting caught up into the fear of missing out, you getting caught up into feeling like, hey, I just want to play follow the leader in this situation, and because everybody else is doing it, I want to do it. What's going to happen is that this particular video and then what I'm going to offer you at the end of the video is designed to give you a really pragmatic understanding of what is going on around you so you can understand how to take the situation and to create some type of income, right? Or some type of profit for the members of yourself and your group. So let's go ahead and get into it. And what we're talking about is SPACs. I think they're called Special Purpose Acquisition Companies. I think that's the acronym. And you're going to, over the next year, but even longer, you're going to hear about a lot of SPACs that are coming out because what they've really found is a new way to create capitalization, a new way to drive investment, and a new way for people to try to figure out how to get a return on their money. What we're going to talk about in this video is what a SPAC is, what are some of the hidden myths around SPACs, and what are some of the things in which you can do to capitalize off this that nobody else is talking about. So what a lot of people are going to be doing is they're going to be promoting the next hottest SPAC as a way to try to drive YouTube views so they can try to get AdSense dollars, or because a lot of you are going to be fans of these particular people that may be the face of these SPACs. But what very few people are going to be talking about is how you can take advantage of these situations based on what normally happens every time we go through this IPO process, because a SPAC to me is just a variation of an IPO. Let's get into it. So here's an article from CNBC. We're talking about SPACs, what they are. We want to kind of really bring it out. What they are is really what I would call the shell companies. And they're shell companies. And what happens is a bunch of people form the shell company. The intent of the shell company is to attract capital. And what they do is they go out into the public and they tell people, hey, we're going to create this shell company, right, with the intent, right, to get a return on capital. And then what we're going to do is once we aggregate this capital, we're going to go look for another company to acquire. But while we're holding your money over normally what is going to be a 2-year term, your money is going to be put into a trust that's going to be generating some type of return. So while we're looking for a company to acquire, you're also going to get a return on your money. But where the greatest return on your money is going to come in is when we acquire this new company, right? So that's the pitch that they're giving to the people that have the pools of capital that are looking for a return on investment. Now, some of the SPACs that are currently out now, or companies that were formed as a result of being acquired by a SPAC, or Virgin Galactic, DraftKings, Open Door, Nikola, which now is, I wouldn't say it's a defunct company, but it's pretty much null and void. And we're going to refer back to that a little bit later. What we're seeing is that in 2020, SPACs raised about $64 billion in total funding. That's a lot of capital, right? For something that's relatively not new, but it just become very common over the past year, right? What I want you to understand is that what is a SPAC? So I want you to really understand what this is, okay? Because I think a lot of people are not really understanding what it is. So we talk about SPAC is created by a team of institutional investors, right? Normally going to be private equity or hedge funds. To me, a SPAC is just a variation of another private equity play. And you maybe want to study private equity and what that is. It's just a variation of a private equity play to me. What they do is that these people have a track record of success normally in business. They get people to put their money essentially in what we call a blank check company. What they say is that we don't know what we're going to invest in, but we're going to find something that's going to get a return on your money and give us 2 years to figure it out. But while your money's sitting up, we're going to put it into an interest-bearing trust account. So you're getting some return. Most SPAC IPOs are going to be priced at $10 a share. So I want you to understand something. When you're hearing about a SPAC company that is getting ready to acquire another company, I want you to understand the majority of the original investors got in at $10. That's going to be very, very important to what I'm trying to get you to understand about this play and about how this thing is structured. The majority of investors got in at $10 per share, right? Now, once the acquisition, so let's say SPAC ABC is getting ready to acquire company 123. Okay. What that happens is once those shareholders approve of that merger, right? What they can now do is they can either swap their SPAC shares out for shares of the merged company, right? Or they can redeem their shares, which means sell them back, redeem their shares, get back their original investment plus interest of that money that was in the trust. And then the people that are sponsoring the company normally have about a 20% stake in that final merged company. Now, what I want you to understand is that they are going into this new company. They're going to merge it. A lot of times the name may change somewhat. We're going to start a new company. And what happens is the SPAC investors now move into the secondary company. So the people that originally invested in SPAC ABC are now owners in SPAC 123. Now, this is what happens, right? A lot of times retail hears about this. And what they do is they look to buy into the SPAC early before the merger. So we're looking at CCIV. CCIV, based on news, is getting ready to buy Lucid. Okay. So what you got to understand is that what did we talk about earlier? The majority of people that were the original investors in CCIV got in at $10 a share. What did you get into CCIV at? Now they're supposedly going to buy Lucid Motors. If they don't buy Lucid Motors, then what is it worth? Because the goal of them forming this CCIV SPAC was to acquire something so we can get a greater return on our money than we have it in other places that we may have had that money sitting at. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So we understand what a SPAC is. What is the reason why it's formed? What is their job? Their job is to go find another company, right, that they can acquire that is going to allow them on acquisition to get a greater return on that, right, than what they would have done if they would have had that pool of capital sitting somewhere else. Now, when you look at a situation like Nikola, when Nikola came out, I knew it was a fake company. Why? Because they had no manufacturing. They were going to have to do everything through partnerships. They were essentially trying to white label hydrogen trucks. I really didn't see that working. And once it came out that a lot of their marketing was really not up to par, really wasn't on the level, all of the gas or all of the steam came out of that company. But if you got in for Nikola at $10, Nikola right now is $20. Well, that's 100% return on your money. So who cares? Nikola at one time was $75, $80. I think at one time it even touched $90. Okay. So the goal of this is to create the SPAC, right? Create enough attention around what your acquisition target is going to be. The SPAC now is public, so people can buy shares in this SPAC. They're going to raise the share price up because they're anticipating acquisition of this company. Buy into that company, right? Create the merger or the acquisition. Continue to keep the PR machine rolling about the viability and the success of this company. And then on lockout date, get out. Because if I bought into SPAC ABC, we acquire company 123. I have an 180-day lockout period. On a 180-day lockout period, the value of the merger, so now we're talking about company 123 is a merger of SPAC ABC and company 123. That value is now $100. I bought in at $10. I'm at almost 1,000% return on my investment, right? Plus the money that I had while I was sitting in there in the trust, getting the percentage while I was in the trust. Why wouldn't I exit right now? I got almost 1,000% return on my money. But retail bought in on the way up to the $100. This is when retail bought in because they caught into the PR and the hype. So because you understand this process, you understand how, as a pragmatic thinker in the market, as a shark in this market, how do you capitalize? Well, you capitalize because you understand what this is all about. It's really not about supporting a company. It's about these things being formed because you have pools of capital that are always looking to get returns on their investment. And you understand what the IPO process really is. And then you understand, right, that when certain things happen in the whole IPO process, because a lot of people think the IPO process is just taking a company public. No, there's an actual IPO process that's going on. And once you understand that IPO process, do you understand how you as a trader can come in and capitalize? Let's look at Lucid Motors because this is the particular company that CCIV is supposed to acquire. They're a car company. Everything looks good. But like I said, this is all PR. It's PR. Until they start selling cars, all of this is PR. Supposed to be selling the car around 70,000. And I also heard they got some higher end models. So let me ask you a question. If you're going to buy a car for $70,000, you're already in the market for this level of car purchase. Why would you buy Lucid as opposed to buying something else that you already were buying for $70,000 that now has an EV model? Will you take your first EV car and spend $70,000 on it? How is Lucid going to convince people to do that on their first EV car? And Lucid has never sold them a car before in their life. The car game is a hard game to be in. It's not an easy game, right? That's why Tesla barely doing 500,000 cars a year, because it's not an easy game to be in, right? So CCIV is getting ready, supposedly based on rumors, acquire Lucid Motors. The question is, what about Lucid Motors makes you think that they're going to be a valuable company, maybe let's say 5 years from now? But of course, they got to hype it because they need you to trade places with them. And there's going to be an event in this process that pragmatic traders are going to really be able to capitalize on if we can get more and more retail to get excited about this acquisition and continue to push that stock price up. And I can show you how to take advantage of that, but you just got to get tapped in with the right people, because I don't get caught up in none of this hype. All I see is an opportunity for me to make money, and not making money because I believe Lucid Motors is going to be the next best thing since sliced bread. I don't care anything about that, because when I'm looking at a car company, if it's a viable car company, it'll be a viable car company 3 years from now. So I don't have to invest now. I can invest 3 years from now once they've shown the track record of having the ability to actually sell cars in the marketplace. So I don't get caught up in the hype. My attitude is that, how can I look at the people that are getting caught up in the hype, and how can I monetize that particular situation when they start to realize that it's all hype and they realize they're trapped in this particular play? Good example is going to be Nikola, right? This was a fake company from the start. And if you really understood what was going on, the problem was that I knew it was a fake company, but my capital was tied up into another area. And so at the moment in which I wanted to take advantage of the fact that I knew it was a fake company, when I started to see its price start to really spike and I knew that wasn't sustainable, I wasn't able to take advantage of it. But I saw it coming a mile away, and I told the people around me that this is a fake company. It's not going to last, right? When they had their lockup, they lost 18%. 18% on one day. And why did that happen? Spac, they acquired this particular company. They had a ridiculous valuation because everybody bought into it, and there was nothing there, right? And then once there was nothing there, it was obvious what was going to happen next. And I can teach you how to identify these type of situations, and I can teach you how to take these type of. There's going to be so many of these that are going to come out in the next year to 2 years because of the particular market that we're in, because of the market sentiment, and because the media and the financial media has shown that they will present these things to the public as legitimate offers and legitimate situations. And I want you to understand something. All the mainstream financial media platforms are pointed at retail. Hedge fund people that own hedge funds, the guys that run Citadel, the guys that run Melvin, the Saudis that run the Saudi Sovereign Fund, they don't watch CNBC. What are they going to watch that for? That's not going to help them. This stuff is being pointed at retail, because this is part of their relationship with these particular investment firms and these people that got big pools of capital. It's their job to help sell this to retail. But I can show you how to look at this from a very pragmatic standpoint, to look at this like a shark and to see how you can capitalize. And once you see it, you're going to be able to recognize these opportunities over and over and over again. And you'll eventually be able to set yourself up to take major advantage of one of these opportunities. If I would have had, and I said this on my social media, if I would have had $50,000, I would have put myself in position to take advantage of what I knew was going to happen with Nikola, and I just would have went to sleep every day and slept like a baby because I knew it was going to happen. Because I knew it was a fake company. There was nothing there. And they was the Spac, the Spac. They doing the hydrogen play, which is supposed to be real big now. They doing hydrogen trucks. They had all the PR. But when you actually looked into what was going on inside that company, there was nothing there. They didn't even have manufacturing. So what kind of company do you have if you can't even manufacture? You understand what I'm trying to tell you? But it takes you being able to understand and look behind the door and see what's going on to take advantage of that. So if you want to learn how to cash out, right, on this Spac Blitz of 2021, there's going to be a link in the description of this particular video called the IPO Lockout Course. You can click on that and you can get tapped in, or you can reach out and take the highest paid part-time job in the world. You can get the fundamental understanding of the options market, and you can move into the IPO course. So you got two options. But don't let these opportunities pass you by, because they're going to continue to roll out more and more of these SPACs on these what I would almost call zombie companies that wouldn't have a life if somebody didn't come along and save them. And then they're going to use a lot of media to convince you that these are great opportunities, and they're going to leave retail stuck holding the bag while they make their exit. And if you don't want to be the person stuck holding the bag, I can show you how to capitalize on this and why you can make your money on how an IPO is actually structured, what is going to be inevitable about an IPO process, and put yourself in a position to capitalize. And you can potentially eat off these scenarios for the next 2 to 3 years, because we're going to continue to see this over and over again. And then what's going to happen is 3 years from now, they're going to start putting out news reports on how SPACs are the worst thing in the world, but even though they were the ones that promoted them over the last 3 years. This is how this financial media works. They're in league with these people, right, to manipulate retail, right? They're in league with them. They're in a partnership with these people. That's how they exist. So if you got any questions, reach out to me in the comments. The links will be in the description. If you know somebody can get value from this, share it out. This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, and I'll talk to you later.